Hello guys, this is a third part of tutorial videos about inventory system, and in the previous parts we have added an add item, we have added an inventory widget, and now we're gonna add a remove item functionality. So now let's open a remove item function. Let's add an input here and let's call it, and it's gonna be ID of type string. It's gonna be a single parameter, not an array, and we're gonna provide an amount of items to remove, integer. So a second parameter is an integer, type integer named amount. So now we have to call find items. We have to call find items with this ID. Next, we can call find slots to store. Oh no, we don't have to call find slots to store. So after we have found these items, we can loop through them. So let's add for each loop with break and break every inventory slot here. Now let's add a new local variable and call it local remove left. Let's make it a type of an integer and make it a single parameter, not an array. Set it here, plug an amount here, and plug it to a for each loop. Now we have to find what is the minimum between items left to remove and an amount of items in this slot. Because if we want to remove 5 apples, but slot contains only 1 apple, we have to remove only 1 from this slot. Now we can get our inventory, call find item, and plug this for loop here. So it will return us an index of this slot. Next we're gonna get this inventory again, and we're gonna set array element, plug for loop here. Index is gonna be a result of a find function. Let's make an item, make as inventory slot. New amount is gonna be this amount minus this minimum. ID is gonna be ID. Or not like this. Let's move it a little bit to the right. So new amount is gonna be this. And now let's select depending on this value. So if new amount is 0, let's duplicate select with Ctrl D. If new amount is 0, then an ID is gonna be empty. Oh, I'm sorry, not this select, let's check. Equal to 0, and we're gonna select on this boolean. Select. So duplicate this select. Plug this return value to ID and this return value to an item. Well, if new amount is 0, then ID is gonna be empty. If false, then ID is gonna be the same as in this inventory slot. Plug it on false. Previous ID, plug into false pin. The same for an item. Plug this into a false pin of a top select. And if true, then it's gonna be empty. right after that, we're gonna get our local remove left and set it. Set to a new value. New value is gonna be local remove left minus this minimum. So let's get this local remove left here minus this minimum. And it's gonna be our new local remove left. Also, add a branch here. If local remove left is equal to 0, then we're gonna break from for loop. Well, and that's all. I think that's all for remove function. Let's test it. Let's open our character and add a new debug key. Debug key X. On X, we're gonna get our BPC inventory item and call remove item on pressed. And ID is gonna be, we're gonna remove only apple. And amount is gonna be, let's remove by 15. And let's test it now. Let's start a project. First, let's add items. So we have 105 apples. Let's tap X. And it removed us apples from a first slot. So that's not correct. We have to remove apples from the end to a start. Let's open our inventory system, and here we're finding items. Let's reverse this array. And not like this, maybe we have just reversed. Okay. I'm not sure that it will work. Let's promote it to a local variable and call it local slots. And here we're gonna call reverse. Connect it to for each loop and disconnect this array from for each loop. And we're gonna use this local slots array. Plug it into for each loop. Compile, save. Adding items and removing them. Well, looks like it doesn't matter. Let's remove this again. Well, we need to make sorting maybe. No, Control Z. We will leave it as it is. Just let's check that it counts in correct way. 105 minus 15 should be 90. Well, now we have 90 apples. Well, okay. After each operation in inventory, we should sort our inventory. Or do we even need it? I think that, yeah. So inventory will always be sorted, but maybe if we will just make this function to work correctly, then everything will be fine. So let me find out why it removes items this way. Let me remove by 5. Well, the problem is that this reverse working fine, but the problem is in finding an index. So when two slots with 50 apples remains, it returns us a first one with 50 apples because the structures are equal. So what do we need to do? We have to search here also from an end. We have to inverse our inventory. Well, to do that, let's create a new local variable for our function where but I cannot find a local variables, by the way. Remove item. Here they are. Let's create a new local variable and call it local inventory. Or maybe not like this. Let's add a new function here and call it reversed array. Input is gonna be... No, I'm sorry, we don't need it. We still need a local variable called local inventory. Local inventory. I forgot that you cannot write generic functions in blueprints. So a local inventory is gonna be a type as inventory slot. It's gonna be an array, compile, save, and at start of this function we're gonna set our local inventory variable. Plug an inventory here. Okay, unfortunately I used incorrect inventory slot structure. Set local inventory to an inventory from variables and call reverse. Now here on the place where we are calling find, use not inventory but local inventory. And now an index here is not gonna be an index found in a local inventory. It should be a reversed index. So this index is gonna be minus. It should be subtracted from get local inventory and we're gonna get it length. Like this, and this is gonna be an index. Now let's test it. Z, and now I'm gonna tap X. And nothing happens, by the way. Am I removing something? Maybe I forgot to connect something. Also, no. Well, it doesn't work now, by the way. Well, not a length, but length -1. I think that the problem is here. Compile, save, Z, and X. Remove breakpoint. Now let's open it. Okay, X. Okay, now it removes them in correct way. Well, now remove item is working. Let me check if there are any errors. No, there are no errors. Okay, we have implemented add item to inventory and remove item from inventory. Now, I think that we have to add some functionality to our items that can be collected. Let me add a new item to DT inventory items, and it's gonna be a stone. Let me call it stone. Stone. Thumbnail is gonna be stone. max text size 25, and it's gonna be an armor. Because I didn't add a wrap box for resources, it's gonna be an armor. Well, where is my character? And let's add a stone. I don't remember if it is needed stone. Yes, that's it, but well, what's wrong? Well, now let's add some logic to an interactable object, for example, to a stone. Previously, we have created an interaction system in my previous videos. So let's edit an interaction object component or any other component, or you can create a new one. And here, add a new variable. And let's call it item pickup item data. It's gonna be data, or not item data, pickup item ID of type string and amount. By default, let's make an amount as 1. Now we can open, for example, any interactable object, select this component, and we have to provide pickup item ID. Let's make it stone, amount 1. Now in BP interaction that I have already closed, I'm sorry, when we are interacting with the current object, when notify begin, we're gonna get this last interaction object and get component by class. Okay, here we already got it. And from this component we can get this item ID. We can get ID, get pickup item ID. We also can get amount. And one thing that is left is we have to get an inventory system from our character and add this item. So let's get character, get component by class, get our BPC inventory system, and call add item. Plug this ID into ID, amount to an amount, compile and save. Let's start a project. Let's pick up a stone, open an inventory, and it didn't appear because... Did I add it here? Yes, I have added here stone, stone, section armor. Well, let me open a stone again. Stone, amount, okay, that's because I have called onInteracted before adding item and my stone was destroyed before I have got its component, so onInteracted should be added as a last function. Now we have a stone in our inventory. If you're interested in interaction system, I will leave a link to a playlist with interaction system development. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.